Chanel was deeply invested in her personal symbols, the lion, wheat, the entwined seas. She filled her apartment with these symbols and felt that her home interior was an extension of her soul. She spent a lot of time alone as a child, playing in the cemeteries with her dead, who she spoke to, and she claimed that they loved her. She saw entwined C's on the columns of the church in Issoire, and later in the orphanage she saw those entwined C's again in the stained glass windows. They look like woven threads, fate, the mirroring of the inner and the outer world. And of course, they're calling her by name, Coco Chanel. She was born under the sign of Leo in the city of Saumur, which was a town known for its riding academies, and so she loved the symbol of lions and horses. The colour red became an obsessive theme in her life as more and more of her loved ones died in gruesome ways, her mother coughing up blood, both of her sisters by suicide, and the love of her life in a car accident. She said that she liked red because it showed what was on the inside. She fixated on the stars in the stone flooring of the orphanage, and later she would fix a giant star above her bed. She also loved the black and white of the nuns who raised her. Black, her favourite colour, she called darkness as a showcase for light. She came up with the little black dress in 1926. Vogue called it Chanel's Ford. One of her few memories of her father was them walking through the wheat fields in Auvergne, where he told her fantastical stories. She kept ears of wheat in a vase in her house, and her house was decorated with wheat sculpted from bronze, wood, and rock crystal. Her future lover, the Duke of Westminster, his family crest was a sheaf of gold wheat. 5 was her lucky number. She would seek it out in the gravestones in Coupieres and etch it into the ground with a stick. Later, she chose to present her collections on dates with the number 5. She would bet on number 5 when she was gambling. And the perfume, which made her rich, Chanel No. 5, was released on the 5th day of the 5th month in 1921. In the only house she ever built, La Porza, there were 5 windows placed above the front door, and she wanted 5 carved stone lions at her grave. She also loved number 2 for its symmetry, kind of like the double C's, and she loved 19 because it was the date of her birth and her father's birth. She believed that seeing her symbols everywhere was proof of her destiny, and also that it would promise her father's return. She later studied the occult with her lover boy Capel, which is all about the power of symbolism and numbers, but she'd been living this way her whole life. These were symbols she had been dreaming about and focusing on since she was a little girl, which makes them so authentic to her. They bridged her external and her internal reality. Coco Chanel dressed women in suits and trousers, traditional men's clothing. The garments were androgynous and easy to move in. The people who knew her described her as having a very hard personality, probably a result from her extremely tragic childhood, but you can see that extremity and austerity in the colours and in the clean lines of the suits. Her riding trousers were pretty scandalous because at the time women were riding side saddle in corsets. She designed for herself what she liked to wear, simple, soft garments with freedom to move. She had the physique and the temperament of the women she wanted to reach because she was designing for herself. So when it came time to make advertisements for Chanel No. 5, of course, she would be the face of the brand. We don't know very much about her design process, but we do know that she started with a mental image and she immediately went and worked on a model, pinning and attaching the fabric, stitching, cutting, slashing, working in this kind of angry frenzy until she'd found the silhouette and the shape that she liked. As she became a celebrity and a socialite, she kept her past private by inventing lies about her childhood as an imaginary upper-class life with servants. Many people wanted to write her memoir while she was still alive, so she told them all different fake secrets. To control her image, she set up a photo studio called Studio Chanel to photograph her designs, and all her perfume ads stylized her as she wanted to be perceived. She was obsessed with mythifying herself and her work. The myth of the brand was taken to a whole new level by Marilyn Monroe, who, when asked what she wore to bed, simply answered, At the time, most perfumes were purely floral scents. Chanel wanted a scent that condensed and masked her mystery and sex appeal into a stable, abstract scent. The talented chemist she was working with returned with samples, and she chose the 5th one. She called it simply Chanel No. 5, launched it on the 5th day of the 5th month, and she had the double C's appearing for the first time on the stopper of the bottle. Chanel said that she made artificial scents which she meant that she composed them rather than simply representing a specific flower. Her perfumes contained high levels of luxury ingredients like grass jasmine, but they had been distilled and purified to this point of abstraction where you couldn't pick out the scent anymore. Still to this day, no one can really describe what it smells like, which is what makes Chanel No. 5 so intriguing and mysterious. This is not a history show, this is a fashion show, so I'm focusing more on practices and techniques rather than dates and facts. It's hard to know what's true about Chanel because she told so many lies and she burned all the evidence that she could. The information I have comes mainly from this book, which I highly recommend if you want to learn more about Chanel. It was written with her last living relative who knew her personally, so I feel like it's as close to the truth as we're gonna get. Regardless of her story, Chanel No. 5 and the little black dress speak for themselves, and they've endured because of the potency of their symbolism.